Hi, today is August 23rd, 2015. When I'm recording this, I never know for sure when I'm going to be able to get these videos uploaded. But I thought I'd talk about a couple of things this morning. You know, that, as I've said in the last couple of videos, there's too much going on that we now have to have our inner souls, our hearts and our minds understanding that these terrible things are going on, and that we have to understand the difference between good and evil and make a choice. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time today, as I have not on the last several videos, on a lot of events that are going on. Suffice it to say that the world is falling into an abyss right now with the economy's falling. We've talked a long time about the fact that they would destroy the economies of the world. Agenda 21 would take over. Loss of individual rights, all of those things. But today in particular, I wanted to bring up just a couple of things. The first is this, and it has to do with the USS Liberty. Now, I've talked about this several times in the past as one of the things that shows that something's wrong with our politicians and basically the so-called order of the world. The USS Liberty was off the coast of Egypt and Israel in 1967. It was an intelligence gathering ship, and it was attacked by the Israeli Defense Forces, both by air, by warplanes, and by sea from torpedo boats, both from Israel. And there's been a lot of discussion about why that happened, about it was a mistake, how it would not have been in Israel's interest to attack a ship they knew was a U.S. ship. And I don't pretend to know the answers to that, although I am convinced that it had something to do with the intelligence services in both the U.S. and Israel playing a game of some sort, having to do with information getting to the Soviet Union at that time, and possibly also some other internal things in both governments. But the fact that they may have, or the statement that they may have attacked the Liberty because they thought it was an Egyptian ship, or because they were trying to draw the U.S. into a war where they would side with Israel against the Arab nations, I really doubt that for a number of reasons. But the important thing is that American servicemen were maimed and killed on that day, and U.S. property was damaged by a supposed ally. We do know for a fact that Lyndon Johnson recalled the jets that were scrambled to protect the USS Liberty and said he would rather see that ship sunk than our allies embarrassed. So there are a lot of questions, this by the man who also was probably at least aware of, if not also behind the JFK assassination, but not the only one. We also could accuse, I think, quite easily the elder Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, as being a part of that. He was definitely a CIA asset instrument at the time. But be that as it may, what I really want to talk about is the fact that Pete Santilli had a show just this last Saturday, and it's the August 22nd episode, number 1050, and it's about the USS Liberty and the cover-up that has been assisted by John McCain. His father was an admiral at the time, I guess began the cover-up under orders, of course, from the government. And there are a lot of unanswered questions as to why this whole thing happened. But be that as it may, John McCain has continued to help to cover that up. Now, John McCain and I, he doesn't know me personally as far as we have never met, but I consider him to be my personal arch enemy. And you've heard me rant on him before about his treasonous conduct, his criminal behavior, the way he's dealt with the American people, the lies, the deceits, etc., his actual criminal conduct. So there's no loss between John McCain and me. Pete Santilli is planning on being at John McCain's office in Phoenix on September 5th with a group of veterans from the USS Liberty and veterans who support those veterans, and he has asked anybody that can be there to come and lend their support. Now, recently, of course, John McCain was instrumental in getting rid of or getting some tribal land from the Navajos and turning it over to a foreign national corporation. And that without really any right for him to do so, or the United States government to take this land from these Navajos. So the Navajos, actually, there's a clip, and I put the link down below here, of them basically trying to attack McCain when he arrived in this area in, I think it's Window Rock, Arizona, on the reservation. I'm not even sure what he was doing there, but the Navajos chased him away. They were real Americans doing what real Americans should do to all of these criminals in Washington, D.C. So I was proud of them, and I hope that they consider people like myself to be their brothers, because in fact we are. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. The link to that show of Pete's is below, and I would like you to watch that if you would, at least the first, I think, hour of it. But the whole thing is very good. It talks about what they're planning on doing. So basically, to recap that, the survivors of the Israeli Defense Force attack on the USS Liberty in 1967 and others supporting them will be at John McCain's office in Phoenix, Arizona on September 5th to demand he be held accountable for his many corrupt, criminal, and treasonous actions against the people of the United States and the Constitution of the United States. And the link to Pete's episode of August 22nd, number 1050, is below. Now, I also want to just quickly say this, that there are a lot of candidates that people are looking at to support right now. And I'm going to kind of plagiarize Isaiah here for a minute, and I think you'll understand why. Let me say this, and I'm going to read this because it's a note. I don't usually do this, but I have my reasons for right now, okay? I must say that despite the appearances of any political candidate you might consider reasonable, I would like to rephrase a scripture by Isaiah. And this is the rephrase of that scripture. To the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, if they speak not of these, it is because there is no light in them, and they are full of deceit. That's kind of a rephrasing of Isaiah 8:20, where he says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. And I think that we can say the same thing about these politicians that are running for office. Any politician, any bureaucrat, any officer, any justice, Supreme Court justice, any judge, anybody who takes an oath is supposed to take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. If during these debates they do not refer to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights often and use them to support their platform, they are the enemy. Okay, they are mixing and mincing words, and there is no light in them. There is no truth in them. There is only deceit. Okay, and I just want to say that up front. A little under the weather here, so I apologize for maybe the little disjointed message and the circumstances, but I also wanted to get this up quickly so that anybody who plans on being in Phoenix can start making their arrangements to do so, and I would hope that there are a lot of people showing up. John McCain and all of his cronies in the Senate, almost all of them to a man and a woman, and the same in the Congress, the same in the White House, the same in the Supreme Court, all of these people need to be ousted by the real government of the United States, which is the people themselves, where all of the rights are held inviolate in their hearts and in their minds, or those principles are not held there. And as Judge Learned Hand said, no constitution, no court, nothing can save the individual's rights except the individuals themselves. And I'm rephrasing that. The principle of liberty must be in the heart and mind of every man, woman, and child. We cannot trust the government to do that because technically, under our system, we are the government. And those rights, God-given rights, are in us, and it was government's job to ensure that those rights are protected. We don't get those rights from government, we get them from ourselves and God by declaration. It is not a gift, it is not a privilege given to us by the government. The government has a contract, has a charter to protect those rights, to protect us in exercising those rights. And if they do not do so, they are in violation of their sacred trust. Again, please look at the links below. Out here.